Hello and welcome to a special episode of Golden Nuggets with Silvia Eldawi. And today, the tables are turning, the microphones are turning, the spotlight has turned. I am now the special guest of the episode. And actually, it's kind of in response to a lot of people asking to know more about me. I'm busy interviewing everybody else, getting into the secret sauce of everybody else, and you're demanding to get into the secret sauce of Silvia. So if you remember, we had a journalist who entered the real estate industry. So who better to interview me and get into this special edition than Kika Paves of MD Real Estate.
It's an honor.
I am terrified.
You should be. I'm so glad you accepted the challenge and after everyone's request to do this.
Because you were like, Silvia, people want to know about you. We would need to know about you. So I'm like, okay, go easy on me.
So Silvia, you know, we live in a world that everyone likes to speak about themselves.
Yeah.
And just within my circle, I have two people that are genuinely interested about others, and you are one of them. So the stage is yours.
Okay.
We need to know who's the Silvia behind the questions.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about you.
I am originally Sudanese. Both my parents are from Sudan. I was born in Sudan, raised until the age of, until 1 year old. And then we moved to London as a family. I have two sisters, one older, one younger. I was working and living in London, raised in London, central London, for...
Very posh.
Very posh, but also very ghetto parts. Like I was in the ghetto parts of the posh areas. And yeah, I stayed in London until I was 38. And then I moved to Dubai and never looked back.
Never looked back? Still today, never looked back?
I mean, Dubai may not be forever, ever, but I would never go back to London.
Okay.
I can't see myself living there. Every time I go back just like once you get used to the conveniences and the luxury and the comfort of Dubai living, it's very difficult to go back. So even just going down to the supermarket and carrying water, it's painful. I'm like, I don't need to do this anymore. I just order stuff and it arrives. I want a massage. She's delivered to my door in half an hour. With the bed, with the setup and everything. So I really like my comfort.
Understandable. I think this is one of the biggest things in the UAE is the comfort that we have. Everything is so easy.
Yeah, and the safety.
True.
The safety as well. So when I go home, I never take all my Rolex, my Van Cleefs and stuff. I just leave it here because you can just get robbed for anything while you're in cities in Europe.
But let's talk about your family. You have a big family.
Yes.
Let's talk about them and the importance of their presence in your life and your upbringing. How did they impact you? Okay. Tell us about your family.
So I have a huge family, mashallah. Each of my parents, my mum and my dad, both have about 10 brothers and sisters each. So that's about 20 aunts and uncles.
My God.
And then if you imagine each aunt and uncle had on average 5 children. So that immediately blesses me with 100 cousins. And when I'm talking to people, especially when back home in London, when I'm constantly saying, my cousin, my cousin in Canada, my cousin in Germany. And it's like, how do you have so many? They think I'm just making up or, it's like my mum's friend's child. I call them my cousin. No, they're genuinely first cousins.
My God.
So I have hundreds. And then they started having children. So there's like hundreds of mini us family,
That's an expensive Christmas there.
But then we've only got small clusters in each continent. So in the UK, for example, I'll have maybe like 15 cousins in the UK. And then we have some in the States, have some in Sudan. I have some in, where else? Where's the odd places that we have them? like whenever I'm going on holiday or whenever me and my sister are going on holiday to a new place, we're always calling my mum saying, do we have any family in, we're going to Thailand. Do we have any family in Thailand? We're going to Qatar. Is there anyone that's in, and there's always someone in every country. But the reason why I came to Dubai, or what made it easy for me to come to Dubai, was I have about 20 to 30 cousins, first cousins in Dubai. So one of the things that makes it quite difficult to move, like most people move on their own, they have to start from scratch making friends. Typically they'll make those friends at work. But I kind of came in already having hundreds of family. And this is the kind of, we call Dubai like HQ, Eldawi HQ, because this is where all the weddings happen. This is kind of where,
so cool.
This is where the family in Canada and UK, this is where they come to holiday. So there's always a lot of Eldawis
it's just like
Dubai.
Emirates, you know.
Exactly. So
It's the center of the world.
it's the
Nice.
center of the world. It's the center of the Eldawis.
And what's the importance? Let's talk about mom and dad. What's the importance, the way they raised you on the woman you are today?
Okay, so I would say my parents are, my dad's super chill. Like my mum is on 100 all the time. So it
Who
was
do you identify more with?
my mum. So there wasn't any, and someone asked me this the other day, like, why are you not married? And I was like, well, I'm not really very soft. Like I didn't kind of grow up in softness and, darling, this and that. No, my mum is, she's a strong woman and demanding, rightly so. She's a very hard worker. And she's a bit of a perfectionist. So we all kind of have that perfectionist, maybe borderline OCD-ness when it comes to the way we do things, cleanliness. She was like a super clean, super cook. The cooking part we didn't acquire. But I make...
You don't need to cook. You have. You can order in
right?
the UAE.
I make a superb reservation. And... yeah, so my dad is very peaceful, very chill, very stubborn as well, very hard-headed. And so I guess I learned from my mom how to deal with perhaps stubbornness or people that are not ready to do what you want them to do. But yeah, it was an interesting dynamic, but there was no... and even in like Arabic culture, there's none of this like, I love you, I love you. We don't really say, I love you. We feed each other. And I think that's the way that this culture shows love. It's like, come in, you've got a comfortable environment, the door's always open, and there's always going to be food on the table. That is love, certainly in our culture. And then, of course, as a result of that, weight becomes an issue. Because you have so much love that you end up being overweight, which is something.
It's very similar to Portuguese traditions, and I think that's one of the things I love the most about the Arabic tradition. It's the connection is made at table.
Correct,
And
absolutely.
I love that
Yeah.
so much.
I mean, I had friends kind of growing up, and I would go to their houses and open their fridges, not, just going into the house and opening their fridge, but like, I'd be chilling.
Fridge stalker.
And it's like, help yourself in the fridge. And I open the fridge and there's like a block of cheese and some milk, and that is it. And I was like, is this a family house? Like how? But they're the ones that got cuddles and they got told I love you and everything else. But we just got a full fridge. Like that was them saying I love you every single day.
Always ready to make that meal
Yes.
for whoever comes
Yeah.
at any time of the day and
Correct.
night. I love that so much. Speaking about that, when I go back home, and or you would be homes all over the world, and you connect with people, and you feel like time didn't pass, and it's so nice to create memories when you go, and then you come back, and there is an emptiness when you come back, but at the same time, life takes over so fast that you kind of forget.
Yeah. Oh my God, I thought that was just me.
It's part of us moving abroad.
Yeah.
How do you cope with that? And what would you do different?
I'm guilty of this because when I go home to, like, all of my friends are in the UK, or they've moved abroad themselves as well. So I've got one of my best friends in Jamaica and another one in New York. So we're all in different time zones, but kind of London is base. And when I'm in London, when I'm in that time zone, I make way more effort to catch up, speak to everyone, because of course, like, it's easier as well because there's no restrictions.
And
Here,
WhatsApp calls actually work.
exactly. So it's like, I feel like WhatsApp calls being disabled has disabled me to a degree since being here, because we used to just call, video chat, you know. Now it's like, oh, are you free for a Zoom? And it's a bit more like scheduling in a meeting. It's not that fluid kind of friendship. So I do, when I go home, I'm seeing everyone, I'm calling everyone, and that's when I get all my updates and my catch-ups. But what I hate about myself is the minute I come back, I have free international calls. I can call all of these people, but I just don't, because you end up coming back into your routine, your world, which is so Dubai laser focused. And that's something that I'm working on. I haven't nailed it. And yesterday I had a phone call with one of my friends, tried to call me on WhatsApp calls. And you know that thing where it's like,
WhatsApp calls don't work.
I thought everybody, yeah. Like, do I have to explain again? But then I was like, look, just one ring me and I can call you back whenever. And she was like, well, why don't you just call me? And I was like, I don't know. I need to work on that. I need to work on that.
Well, so when you find the secret on how to do that, please post on your Instagram, because it's a challenge. Yeah. It's a big challenge. And I just came back from Portugal, and it was the first time where I really felt it. It was quite heavy on how distant I am when I'm not there.
Yeah.
And how present I am when I am.
I really thought it was just me. And it is, well, so then it must be a Dubai-wide, an Emirate-wide thing, yes, or an expat-wide thing. But yeah, it's very difficult to, because you kind of, maybe it's because you're escaping. Maybe the whole reason why we're here is we're escaping something. So, but you go and dip back every now and then. As you mentioned, you kind of feel that everything is still stuck in time, and you know it's there, it's safe, and you can go back whenever you want to. But then when you're here, you're back to escaping from whatever it was. I don't know, maybe there's something in that. We need a psychologist to look into this.
Next
session, yeah.
Speaking about connections, older sister, younger sister.
Yeah.
You're the middle one.
Yes.
We have a saying in Portuguese that in the middle is the virtue.
Is there?
So, yes. Tell me about them.
So my older sister, she's like the family manager. And she is...
What's her name?
Nasreen. And
beautiful.
She's a big deal too. She's Nasreen Eldawi, TV producer. She is on the red carpets, behind the scenes, all over the world. So she produces short films and junkets and trailers and short form content for huge brands. So she's always at fashion weeks. She's always on the red carpet. She works for, she freelances for Entertainment Tonight, NBC. She's doing a lot of work in Saudi these days on Al Ola, for the Sports Federation, tennis. So she's kind of, this is her world actually.
No, this is your world.
This is now my world. And the funny thing is we both did, so she did media with film and video production, or radio with film and TV as a degree. And and she's 3 years older than me. So when she finished, I was going into university. And I knew as well that I wanted to be in show business somehow. So I just signed up for media with film and video production and went to university, but I was bored out of my brain and ended up dropping out of uni halfway through, because it ended up just being like studying Alfred Hitchcock and, you know, different frames and stuff and wide lens. This is your world. This is your world, Steve. But I was like, no, editing is boring. I want to be on the front of the camera. And I didn't end up being in front of the camera. I ended up being, you know, going into real estate. But eventually, I'm now in front of the camera rather than behind the camera.
Today you are in front of
So,
the camera.
yeah. So
So how's the relationship with Nisrin?
Nasreen,
Nasreen.
yeah, she's good. She's loving that there is an HQ in the HQ, so she comes to Dubai often, and especially when she's going to Saudi, she'll always plan a little stop off in Dubai, and yeah, we've got a good relationship. She's very logical, and we're very different, very different. She's very logical, chill. And I'm a little bit more head in the clouds, overthinker. She's not an overthinker at all.
Okay.
And my younger sister, there's a 10-year age gap
What's
between
her name?
us, Sarah.
Beautiful name.
Yes. And she came, I mean, we were so excited when my mum said she was pregnant. We were expecting a boy. It ended up being a girl. But it was like, still nice to have like a doll. And we were at that kind of age group where, because I was in the middle, I ended up sharing a room with her for while I was in my teenage years. And I was like, I want my own space. I want my own space. But we didn't have a big enough house until my sister moved out. And then I upgraded myself to her room. And she's now a pharmacist. She's completely different, again, to me and my older sister. She's very quiet, very reserved, does her own thing. She's into gaming. She's, not like girly. So, yeah, she's got her routines, and she's a bit OCD as well. I wish I had a brother. I think I wish I had an older brother. I think my life would be very different with an older brother.
I'm sure. I have an older brother, and he's actually two. We're five. One of them is.
Are you sure you're not cousins of mine? 5 kids. Are you sure you're not distant relatives?
We're probably part of the same family.
Yeah.
We don't know. Let's talk about Dubai. You moved here. Did Dubai meet your expectations?
Yes.
Okay.
It did.
Tell me about it.
And I did get carried away, and the time goes so fast. Like, before you know it, you've been here a year, then 2 years, then 3 years, then 4 years. And that's one thing that I would say, it was like 2x. When you play a voice note on 2x, that's what the first few years in Dubai was like.
That's such a good... That's so good. That's exactly what it is.
Right?
I feel that I'm still on 2x.
Yeah. And then you go home, and then it's like, minus 0.5, and then you come back and it's like, so did it meet my expectations? Yes, I did the typical, first year in Dubai where you're out all the time, brunches, really just living like a teenager or like you're in your 20s. And it was good. I had fun, but my life now is complete opposite of my life back then. Like, I could literally not leave the house for 3 days and I'll be completely fine with it. I can go days without seeing anyone and I'm absolutely fine with it. I'm just on that sofa, on the laptop, working away. People say, oh, come to the beach. And it's like, we take it for granted. We have a beach. I used to pay thousands of pounds every year, 3 times a year to get to a beach for 1 week. And now I have it on my doorstep.
You're a business
building.
woman. Speaking of business, 5 years with Driven.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
I decided that I was going to move to Dubai. And then I handed in my resignation, because my resignation in the UK was, I had to give a 3-month notice period. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to move to Dubai, similar to like moving apartments, you can't do that search, that job search, 3 months in advance. Anyone that you're interviewing with is going to want you to start immediately. So I was like, first things first, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? The chicken. I had to hand in my resignation. So I handed in my resignation. And my previous managing director was like, have you got a job lined up? And I was like, no. He was like, are you mad? You're going to move to Dubai and you don't have a job lined up. And I was like, it's all going to fall into place. Like, I always land on my feet. It's going to work out. But I've got to give you 3 months notice. So I'm telling you now. He's like, you're mad. That's the worst decision you'll ever make. And I was like, you'll see. No.
But that's a very good advice, Silvia, because people need to understand that Dubai is
Fast-paced.
2x. So
Yeah.
when you go for an interview, you need to be ready.
Right.
For me, it's a big turn off when I have people, I need to give 2 months notice and so on. So that's a very good advice there that you're giving, and
But
you did it.
And that's the problem with like the higher management positions typically come with 2 to 3 month notice period. So you do have to, at this level, start resigning and just put it out there, put it to the God, and hope for the best. So I did. And then I was going through LinkedIn one day, must have been like a month after I'd handed in my resignation, and I found a job that was like written for me at Driven Properties. And I was like, this is me. And then it said, reach out to the job poster. And I was like, oh, let's check him out. And I was like, Abdullah Al-Ajaji. Oh, first connection. I was like, how do I know him? Like, how are we already connected? So it said we'd been connected since November before, and which was like 6 months before. And I was like, well, I don't send requests I very rarely send requests on LinkedIn, and I definitely wasn't at the time. So he must have requested me at some point. And I sent him a message. I was like, is this position still available? And he was like, yes, it is. Send your CV to such and such. So I sent it to him. And then he replied, he was like, mashallah, your CV is perfect you are perfect for the role. Let's jump on a call. And what I liked as well about
Skype?
No, at the time it was a telephone call. So he called me. I was downstairs. I took the call downstairs in my building. I was just walking around the reception area, and we were on the phone for about an hour.
Wow.
And what I liked about that was I knew that I was speaking to the boss and that he was going to make the decision. There were no layers to this. It wasn't a case of have a conversation with HR, send the CV, send the cover letter. It was a conversation. At the end of the conversation, he more or less said, I want you. The next call will be to discuss your package and so on, and when you can start and how quickly we can get you over here. And so I was like, okay, amazing.
Your story is so good because it touches what I believe to be a very important point. That is a bit in the shadow of many real estate brokers and even managers. LinkedIn.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is such a powerful tool.
100%.
And I wish more people gave more attention.
They give more attention to their Instagram than they do their LinkedIn. But literally, I've curated my LinkedIn since 2002. So I'm up to like 10,000 connections on LinkedIn. And it is just like a catalog of all my business interactions. If they ever shut me down on Instagram one day because I'm too whatever, or close down my YouTube page, I know I can find everyone on LinkedIn. So I would, yeah.
I always tell the team when I'm on the phone with a client and I get, imagine they're making an offer or something and I get an Emirates ID or I get their right name.
You Google.
I LinkedIn it.
Yeah.
So, and that's so important. Then I know who I'm speaking with. Yeah. It makes it easier on conversations. People can approach you so much easier as well on LinkedIn. Right. I'm sure your mailbox
is full.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't respond to everyone.
It's hard.
Guys, I'm Steve, the director of Golden Nuggets podcast. I'm interrupting.
It's not a podcast, it's a show.
Okay. So, Golden Nuggets show. I'm interrupting this because this is the longest episode we've shot for Golden Nuggets. I mean, it's Silvia's episode. It needs to be that long. So keep watching if you want to know more about Silvia's personal and spiritual journey. However, if you want to know more about her personal transformation and career journey, you need to switch to the uncut version that we had on Spotify, Apple Music, Anghami, and any of your favorite audio podcast platforms. The links are below. But now, let's go back to Kika.
Forget the career, forget the businesswoman.
Okay.
When you realize that it خلاص, when do you stop and say?
For me, what changed that was
When did you realize that?
when I went to Umrah, when I did my first Umrah. Because I feel like I've always been quite a lucky person, or things just land for me. I always know, like, even if something bad happens, it's for a good reason and it's just going to drop. But because I was having that kind of Groundhog Day, it took me doing Umrah to realize that. And it'll take too long to explain the story of the transformation that happened. It wasn't instant. I had to do it and then get the lesson immediately afterwards, which was I had always been someone who visualized how I wanted to live, what I wanted, and I'd asked for it. I used to ask for it. I used to pray for it. But coming to Dubai, I think I stopped. I stopped praying. I stopped manifesting. I stopped asking to receive. And so I received nothing. I manifested Dubai. I clearly manifested Abdullah because he was in my connections from 6 months before I made the move. So I manifested all of this until I got to Dubai. I just felt like, okay, I've arrived, I've landed, I've got everything I wanted. So I stopped asking for more. And it took me until, I feel like my relationship with God, when I say I'm praying, I'm not praying like 5 times a day like that. I'm just talking about having that conversation internally, saying, I want this. If this is right for me, make it happen. If this is wrong for me, remove it from my path. Like, I just feel like you've got my back. You've always got my back. So it was the trip to Umrah where I'll explain it as concisely as I can. I'd done so much research into what is Umrah, who built it, who built the Kaaba, what's the story behind it? I need to understand, why do they walk around it? Why 7 times, not 6 times? I needed to understand everything. So again, what I went to YouTube University and searched for lots of blogs about other people doing their first Umrah. And so I knew what to expect. I knew how you had to prepare. And so you circle the Kaaba 7 times. So in my mind, I'm very organized. I was like, right, so what I'm going to do is the first 3 laps, I'm going to do gratitude, thank you, hamdallahs, right? And then the final 4 laps, I'm going to do manifestations, du'as, right? So I was like, I'd westernized the Umrah trip. I kind of gave it my own spin. So in my mind, before I got there, I wanted to have a list on my notes of all the things that I'm grateful for and all the things that I want to manifest. But I got so busy that that list didn't happen. And I was like, oh, it's fine. Of course I know what I'm grateful for. And of course I know what I want. So I don't need to have a list on notes. I'm just gonna say it when I get there. So got there, we started doing my first lap. And I was like, right, so we're sticking to the plan. We're gonna do what I'm grateful for. And Kika, I came out with such basic bitch gratitudes, like, thank you for my apartment, thank you God for my handbags, thank you for my health. I did thank you for my family and thank you for my family. I was just like, really? Is this what you're grateful for? Like, are you really mentioning all these material things? You can't think of anything else? I was like, okay, let's just skip to manifestations. That's going to be clear. So I was like, dear God, please, bring me a husband, but only if you think I'd make a good wife, and it's, make me a mother, but only if the baby's going to be healthy and you think I'd make a good mother and I could, So every manifestation had a condition attached to it. It was like, bring me this, but only if. And I was like, why can't you just say what you want, right? What's wrong with you? Why are you attaching condition to everything? And then there was only one thing that I was super clear on, and that was an issue that I was having in the company, the startup. So I was like, dear God, if this is for me, please fix the problems we're having and make it a success. But if it's not for me, you don't see this in my future, remove me immediately, okay? And that was it. And then after that, I went into like what would you'd say zombie mode. Like we're talking, this is just on the second lap. I was so disappointed in myself that I couldn't articulate what I was grateful for. I couldn't articulate what I wanted. I wasn't clear. So I was just doing it like a zombie. I was just, I finished the 7 laps around the Kaaba and then
Was it emotional?
Not at all. I was just zombie. I was like, it was probably the first time in my life where I could say my mind was clear. I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just doing. I was just in this space. The only feeling I was feeling was disappointment in myself, and that was it. And then did the Safa Marwa, where you walk 7 times backwards and forwards. Finished it. Next morning, left to go back to Dubai. I was only there for 24 hours. And it was only in the cab ride back to the airport that one of my cousins, was like, how was it for you? And I was like, honestly, it's a bit of a anticlimax. I'm really disappointed in myself. And then I just burst into tears out of nowhere. I was just like inconsolable. I was like, how could I get there and be begging, saying thank you for this and thank you for handbags and thank you for shoes. I've just gone to the Holy Land and this is what I'm being thankful for and this is what I'm, manifesting. I couldn't even say what I wanted. Like, I felt like I'd missed an opportunity to, like when you go to a wishing well and you pray for, you throw
why
a
did I
penny.
do that one?
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't, but I didn't even know what I wanted. And burst into tears. And she was like, that's amazing. Maybe the whole purpose of your trip was to figure out that if you don't know what you want, how can God make it happen for you? And I was like, oh my God. That was my light bulb moment that I was like, you know what? That was God telling me, come over to my house. Yeah, we have to have a conversation. Everything you've asked for until now, I gave it to you, right? Right or wrong? Right or wrong? And I was like, yeah, right. What have you asked me for lately? And I'm like, not a lot. Right, that's why nothing has changed. Start asking me for stuff. And then where it was kind of cemented for me was when I came back. And remember, if we go back, when Xenia, the psychic, was like, there's 3 of you, there's supposed to be 2. When I went back, 6 days after coming back, something happened and the conversation was had, which meant my departure from the startup. And to me, like ordinarily, that would have been like, I would have kicked off and been like, what? No, I'm not leaving. This is my baby. I built this, But I was just like, is that you, God? Showing me how quickly you work.
Ooh.
Is that you, God? Sending me the sign that like, look, you were super clear about one thing, 6 days, you didn't even have to wait a week, 6 days, done. That's what you wanted. That's what I'm delivering. So immediately I was like, wow, I need to be super clear about what I want and I need to figure that out. And if I ask for it, I will get it. And that was my, so now I've been super clear about what I'm looking for in a husband, and not just what he has to be, but how he makes me feel. And I think that's, so important. It's not so much about the boxes that they tick. It's about the boxes that they make me tick in myself. And I've always I'm not one of these women who's like, I've got to be in a relationship. I've got to meet someone. I have to get married. I have to have babies. I'm like, okay, it happens. It doesn't happen. God has a different plan for me. Maybe all the kind of Propologi community members are supposed to be my children. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to be. Yeah, maybe I'm supposed to just be that fun, cool, hilarious auntie than be the mum itself. And quite honestly, I've been spending a lot of time with some mums recently, and it does not look like fun. Really, y'all don't make it look like fun, So I'm not sure if it's for me, but if it's meant to be, it will be. If it's in my story, it will happen.
I think you would be an amazing mom.
Thank you. As long as I have a nanny. I'd be an
sure.
amazing mum if I had a nanny and a
In
chef and a
Dubai.
cook and a cleaner.
Let's talk about the light bulb. Light bulb, when you said that, I was like, yellow.
Yeah.
Yellow is?
Yellow is Propologi.
Propologi. So you created a concept. Let's talk about that. That it's quite unique because it's what all real estate agencies should do, but people like me don't have time for it. So you created a concept that can be used by all of us.
Yes.
And that's genius. So tell us about the concept, tell us about the company, because I do believe there are many people that don't know what is it about.
Yeah.
So tell us about it, how the idea came to the picture. I remember us having dinner.
This is on the second committee meeting, perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember when we were and you're like, I'm
Where were
cooking
we?
something.
Oh, yeah. When we went to Kyoto.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm cooking something.
Yes.
And then boom.
And
it
to be
came.
honest, I'm still cooking. It's like I'm just garnishing it now.
Okay, tell
and
us
we're
about
ready
it.
to launch in the next couple of weeks. It should have been before, but it's delayed because I am a bit of a perfectionist. I think the gap that I saw, and it's not just in Dubai, it is worldwide, the role of a real estate agent, let's be honest, it is the only profession that you only, as a real estate agent, you don't get paid a salary for, and you only get paid on success, okay? So real estate agents around the world do not get paid for 99% of the things they do, day in, day out. They only get paid if it lands. So as a result of that, there is the behaviors, the support, the tools available have to be super sharp and slick. And I think with any profession, you look at any industry, whether it's lawyers, doctors, they all have a community. Yes, you're all working in different clinics or hospitals or surgeries, but there's like a society, there's a community where, you know, if I have an issue, I could ask the community, you know, we can bounce ideas off each other. So similar to the WhatsApp groups that we have. And, you know, think about how many WhatsApp groups there are for Dubai real estate, how many Facebook groups there are for Dubai real estate. There's thousands. So what Propologi is doing is going to create a community for all of these conversations to take place with learning. And I'm not just the only instructor. You know, I don't know everything. I've been through a lot. I've experienced a lot. But even consumer behaviors change over. Like if I was a real estate agent today, doing it the same way I was doing it 20 years ago, I might not be successful. So things adapt, things evolve. So I'm building a community where we can all just come in, leave the egos outside. You know, there's a bit of competition. There's a way where I'm gamifying it because I'm tuned into the generations that are to come. There is a bit of gamification, and we are naturally competitive people. So I want to put that element of competition in there, but I want that support where you could say, I've got this sticky situation. This is how I think I'm going to handle it. But you know what? Let me put it out to the group and see how they'd handle it. Maybe one of them has a golden nugget for me. And also in that forum or on that platform, I want there to be access to all sorts of educational materials that you unlock by doing the previous levels. So it is a bit like Super Mario Brothers or
Duolingo.
You know, Duolingo.
That's
so
the
you know,
Duolingo of real estate.
learn as you go along.
Brilliant.
Exactly. So learn as you go along. You know, even down to, did anyone ever teach you how to do a viewing, how to show a property?
No.
But you know there is a correct way and an incorrect way of doing it.
Correct.
Right? So, but the problem is we're all so busy hiring and, you know, onboarding and whatever that nobody teaches you how to show a property. And there is, you know, there's thousands of scenarios like that, like how to WhatsApp a client, how to do this, how to choose the brokerage that you work for, how should you prepare your CV? So all these unknowns or different styles of doing things. I want there to be one base camp where you go to to get this information and just hang around and see. And I also recognize that there is some level of anonymity that some people might want to adopt. So agents are quite proud and they don't really want to ask for help or be seen to be asking for help. So, and I notice this from whenever my engagement on Instagram, whenever I ask a question, agents, rather than commenting where I've asked them to comment, they ask me in the DMs. So I was like, I've noticed that they don't want to be public about it.
Do you think there is, because agents make a lot of money, do you think there is a bit of an arrogance behind it?
Of course. But, you know, they deserve to, the arrogance is there because they are self-employed effectively. Everyone is self-employed. So they've got to have that confidence and conviction. Remember what I told you about my learnings from the startup world. If you don't believe it, you can't convince anybody else. You can't, you have to believe it. Even if it's not true, you have to position yourself as the go-to real estate agent for this niche or that niche, whatever it may be. So, there's a thin line between confidence and arrogance. And I think as with knowledge,
it's earned, but if you can add more knowledge, and that's where I believe that you come to the picture in a very smart way. I don't see it in a competitive way because what you're doing is completely different than the standard educational companies that do that. We have to go to get that license. This is a tool.
This is a community. It's a community. So,
which
you're not, it's not a school of Silvia. There's no certificate or accreditation, but it's, you can 10x whatever you're trying to achieve by being on the platform, whether you want to improve your discoverability, whether you want to improve your career path, whether you want to sharpen up your sales skills, your negotiation skills, 10x your viewing process. Everything will be available for you to just go in, unlock that level, go up to the next level. And there is some competition on the platform where you're going to be like, so again, going back to, I think a lot of people are going to come in anonymous or under a different kind of avatar or name at the beginning.
It's needed.
But eventually they're going to switch to show their name and their company and who they are when they start charting. So.
I love that. It's beautiful. It's an incredible idea, an incredible career. So I'm going to guess that you are hiring?
Right now, everything is just me and my crew. The crew.
We love them. They're amazing.
They're very good at producing my content, for making these reels that you see.
And now they know a bit more about you as well, and as all your followers.
Like, we took a couple of breaks and they were like, I didn't know that about you. That's really interesting. That explains a lot of things. So I will be needing some kind of community, because I'm not going to be able to do this all myself. So I will be needing community managers, people that can... I'm going to need a PA very soon to help organize me, because my diary is getting very busy. And I'm going to need some community managers. Of course, we're going to be onboarding, not even onboarding because it's just an easy sign-up process. But for now, if you're a real estate agent, you want to get into the community, pre-register on the website, and then you'll be the first to unlock the access when it's available.
And people like me can also join.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. We don't just want real estate agents. We want the titans. We want people in the legal industry. You know, I want you to be able to go in and ask a question about, this compliance issue, you know, and there be the
which
help
is
available.
now sorted on WhatsApp, like the WhatsApp groups we have.
Right.
So having a community, a forum where we can actually go and without saying our name, to be honest, I love that.
Yeah.
Because some of the questions...
You will eventually put your name. You will eventually, because you actually get rewarded, or you get points for the more you contribute.
Okay.
So the more...
Top contributor?
Right. Things like that. So I've told you I'm gamifying it. It's going to be fun. Oof. So I don't want it to just be like lessons from me. I want it to be lessons from all the leaders that I know. Like, you've got some really... Maybe you do one about LinkedIn. and the
Yeah.
power of LinkedIn. So I want this to be a safe space for everyone to come, not be judged. Hopefully there's some collaboration that goes on there as well, but this will separate the good from the crappy.
I always say that you need to be surrounded by the right people
Right.
to fly. Before I ask you my last question, we have some questions on Instagram. You did post yesterday.
Yeah. I was like, drop your cues for me. And
So-
you did.
The questions, one of the questions we've answered. Are you hiring?
Yeah.
I need sunshine in my life.
Yes.
So yes, she is. Drop a message.
No, let me see what you've got on LinkedIn, right?
Ooh,
Approach me
yes.
on LinkedIn.
Then the other question you had was, how did you come to Dubai? We've answered that. So I think we covered most of the questions that you got as well. Last question. With everything we've learned about you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how proud are you of yourself?
I would say 6, 7.
So very critique of yourself.
Yes, because I've delayed, I'm a procrastinator, but I also have learned that procrastination is not necessarily a bad thing. It's while you're procrastinating, that's how you come up with these amazing ideas. And bear in mind, what Propologi plans to be now is very different to what it looked like 8 months ago when I registered the
I'm
the
not
company.
asking about the company
Okay,
again.
okay, all right, sorry.
We'll go back to Silvia.
Okay. Oh, well, 6.
How proud are you as yourself as a woman?
As a woman, 6, because I still have that. I'm right
You have a
now. I
lot-
feel like I'm in a masculine world because I've got no, because there is no husband, no children, and it's just business.
Can potential husbands send a message on LinkedIn? No.
No, he should slide
That's
up in
business.
he should slide up in the Instagram DMs.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how proud is your mom?
She honestly doesn't understand what I do, so I think she's proud of what we've achieved from where we've come from, because we didn't
On a
come
1 to
from,
10?
I'd say maybe 7. No, I'd say 5 because
No
I'd say
way.
5.
Mom,
because,
please call her now.
because the mum pressure is, oh well, she didn't get married, she didn't have children. So
yeah.
there's that kind of, well, you did really well in work, but the other half of being a woman, or the whole of being a woman, is to be a wife and a child. So there's that kind of disappointment, shall we say?
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how proud is your older sister of you?
I think she's probably like a 8, 9.
And what about you
Me,
towards her?
I'm kind of, I'm very proud of her. I think
1 to 10?
9.
Okay.
If she could make me an auntie, it'd be a 10. See, there is that pressure to,
See? I see.
to have a family.
Sarah, scale of 1 to 10, how proud is she of you?
I think she's indifferent. I think she's indifferent.
You have to give me a number.
7,
How proud are you of her?
8.
So we need to work on that.
Yeah. We need to work on my number.
Sarah,
her
please
number.
call her and tell her on a scale of 1 to 10, because I'm not happy with a 5. Well, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
It was a very insightful,
dive.
deep about you. And it's so nice to finally see who's the person behind the camera. You have, not the camera, behind the questions, I would say. You have an amazing story, very inspiring on all levels, career, woman, changes, manifesting, believing.
Right.
And
this
you
is just
still-
the beginning. Like, I
thi-
feel like
yes.
this is this chapter is just beginning of the next 15, 20-year story. So,
For sure. I want to receive that invitation for the wedding.
inshallah.
Yes, and that
And the baby shower.
And yes, for the baby reveal,
the baby
gender
reveal.
reveal. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
allowing people to know a bit more about you. It's not as easy.
Thank you for asking such amazing questions. Like, I need to take some tips from you on your questionnaire.
It's
you're good at
very,
asking
very
the right
nice.
question.
And congratulations again. I said it before. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to register. And I cannot wait for it to come to life.
Yay. Coming very soon.
To meet again in a year.
And we have another review.
Should
Things
we do
could
in
be
a
very
year's time?
different. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay, done. So put on your calendars, peeps.
1 year from now, we will do a review, a catch up of what's happened. Oh my God, I'm going to manifest that episode. I'm going to manifest that episode
Yes.
and all the things that I want to be telling you about.
Done.
Talking to you
I'll
about.
do the same.
And where it's going to be as
You
well.
know what?
Yeah.
Let's do the same
Yeah.
and keep it.
Uh-huh.
And then on the day we come
review.
and
Yes.
we speak about
Yeah.
it.
And I'm going to tell you where I'm going to be living and what the set's going to look like.
Yes. I'm going to tell you everything I think you're going to be about you.
Okay.
Done.
Yay. 1
It's
year
your
from
show.
now.
You wrap it up.
Thank you. I hope you know me better. I hope that's answered all your questions. If you have more questions, ask them in the comments or on my LinkedIn or in my Instagram DMs and I will answer them. And thank you.